All right, what's up, everybody? Look, we just got a massive update from the Iran conflict that has the stock market going crazy. What we can see is that the S&P 500 is kicking off the day in the green, the Dow Jones is down, the Nasdaq's in the green, and the Russell 2000 is down. An absolute state of uncertainty, and it all comes down to this one piece of news. So today we're going to go over again exactly what that piece of news was, why it's impacting the stock market like this, and what I'm doing in my own portfolio this week as a result of everything that's going on. So without further ado, let's stop wasting time and let's get straight into it. So the big piece of news that has really shocked the market today is the fact that a cargo ship was hit by a projectile in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this morning. Now, matter of fact, it actually wasn't just one cargo ship that was hit. It was only one in the Strait of Hormuz, but there were actually two others outside of the strait that were hit in the last few hours. Now, you may say, well, Tyler, realistically, there's been a lot of ships and a lot of vessels that have been hit in the Strait of Hormuz over the last few weeks. I think the number is like 14. So why is this isolated event so important? And the reason why this one specifically is so important is because you need to understand the context of what happened before these ships were hit. So over the last week, the market has been extremely volatile because Donald Trump said that he would provide support through the Navy for any vessels that were trying to traverse through the Strait of Hormuz, but also through insurance for any vessels that were damaged. Basically providing the United States was going to provide protection for any vessels that were traversing through the Strait of Hormuz. In addition to that, he also came out and said that if Iran attacked any vessels in the Strait of Hormuz, that things would get cataclysmically worse for them, that there were targets that the U.S. were planning on hitting, that they haven't been hitting, but that they would hit if Iran kept attempting to disrupt global oil production. And so over the last 7 to 10 days, the market has been extremely volatile and very uncertain because people didn't know if the U.S. could actually provide that sort of support to this region, right? To the Strait of Hormuz. Because realistically, the Navy's not big enough to protect every single vessel that goes through the strait. It's just not possible. And so there's been a lot of doubt. And again, the key word being uncertainty. So the last 7 to 10 days, uncertainty has flooded the market. That's why some days oil is absolutely flying and some days oil is absolutely dumping. It's the reason why the stock market and the crypto market are sometimes really good and sometimes really bad because people just didn't know what would happen if something did happen here, right? If the U.S. could actually provide this sort of protection to the Strait of Hormuz and to global oil production. And the reason why this piece of news, given that context, is so important is because we're about to find out. All the uncertainty from the last week and a half, all the questioning of what would happen and if the U.S. would actually step in and protect the strait and the vessels in the strait are about to be answered. All those questions are about to be answered. And I believe this uncertainty that's been hitting and plaguing the market is about to be lifted. Because let's play this out a little bit. Let's go over some hypotheticals. Let's say the United States does step in here. The U.S. goes in, things get cataclysmically worse for Iran. They hit some main targets and they really do damage, showing them like, hey, if you attack vessels in the strait, we are going to put a whipping on you. We're going to put belt to butt. It's going to get bad. Okay. If that happens, I believe the market's actually going to feel some certainty because they're going to be like, oh, wow, okay, there is some protection over these vessels and maybe global oil production won't be as disrupted as it possibly could be. But let's play out the opposite. Let's say the U.S. does nothing here. Let's say there's no, retaliation from the United States or any other major countries or anything, and it kind of just fades off. Guess what? That's going to provide bad uncertainty for the market. And I believe if that is the case, then there is no retaliation. It's extremely likely that oil prices are going to start climbing again because people will start to realize like, oh, all of these threats from Trump and all of these promises to protect these vessels were just smoke and mirrors. And at the end of the day, the Strait of Hormuz is likely going to continue to be shut down because no one's going to go through that if they don't feel safe. Look at what just happened, right? Look at what just happened. There was a crew of 23 people on that vessel that was hit. 20 of them have been saved. 3 people still, their status remains unknown, guys. And so people aren't going to go through that not knowing the state of the safety of it and if they're going to be protected in any capacity. And so that's why it's so important that we pay attention to what happens with this news, because all of the questions that have, again, been plaguing the market for the last week to a week and a half are finally going to be answered. And that's the reason why you're starting to see the market get a little bit shaky. The market's getting a little bit volatile because people are putting their bets in of, okay, are they going to retaliate? Are they not going to retaliate? wait, are oil prices going to fly or oil prices not going to fly? And you can see it reflected in the volatility. Look, again, you got some of these different indices up and some different indices down. You got the VIX up on the day. You go to oil prices, and oil prices are recovering in a decent amount over the last 24 hours, as some people don't think the U.S. will retaliate, and this will have a big impact on global oil production. It's the reason why we saw Brent crude oil fly up from $80 all the way to $90 just over the course of a couple hours. It's because the market is starting to absorb this news and realize, oh, a big decision is on the way. And I believe that big decision is going to either push this market up or it's going to push this market down. And so over the next couple of days, what we really need to do is sit back and pay attention to how the United States responds to this news, because its response is going to provide the clarity on what the state of oil actually will be going forward while the Strait of Hormuz is at conflict, okay? So I'll keep you updated as it does play out. Personally, I am planning on doing accumulation if this market wants to pull back. So I actually think, again, I am someone who is an advocate, and I believe that this oil situation is going to resolve itself faster than people realize. And it might take some time, it might take some days, may take some weeks, maybe even take some months, okay? It could still do that, but I am under the belief that the oil disruption is a short-term, maybe not even short-term, let's use the word temporary problem that will be solved. And so if that temporary problem causes a pullback, I believe that pullback would be temporary. So I do have some dry powder. I do have some cash sat on the side to do a little bit of accumulating if that is the case. I'll probably buy a little bit of VOO. I'll increase my position in SoFi just a little bit, and maybe I'll throw a little bit at Apple and Hood as well. Just a full-blown portfolio DCA. That could be my plan, because my portfolio is not holding up too bad. Right now, this week, it's down about $2,600, and on the month, it's currently down about $8,200. But if we do go back out to say, the 3 months, things have kind of stabilized a little bit. The majority of my loss is coming from just the last month, and over the last year, it is still pretty sat pretty flat at a $41,000 gain, which is still totally fine with me. I got a lot of room to work with here. I'm not stressing. I'm not too worried. If we pull back, I have enough margin to be able to go in and add a little bit more. So I am planning on DCing if the market does respond negatively to this news, but I'll keep you guys updated when I do that and exactly how I do it, okay? But the main point being, of course, paying very, very close attention to this news and what happens here, because it is going to have a major impact. So again, I'll keep you updated as all this does play out. If you guys have been enjoying the content on this brand new YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe. The channel's only 2 weeks old, but I have been trying to pump out a good bit of content for you all, just keeping you updated on what's happening in the stock market and what's happening in my own portfolio as well. So don't forget to subscribe, like this video, comment. It really does help the channel grow. I appreciate you all so much, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.